Growing up in Christianity and embracing atheism at 30 and 31 years of age, I realized that I don't have to be a good person to escape hell, and I don't have to expect hell for rejecting something that very few people, based on where you live in the world, even has access to it. If you weren't born in America, but born in an Asian country, depending on where you're born determines what religion you are, at least for the majority of people on this planet. If you're born in a country that's 98% Buddhist, you're going to be a Buddhist. If you're born in a place that's under Sharia law, unless you are the odd person out, you're going to be Muslim. If you're born in America, which is, some say it's 1/3, some say it's half of Americans who are Christian, the odds are you're either going to be Christian, religious, but not going to church, or I don't care. Where you're born determines what you believe. And there are over 40,000 Christian denominations and hundreds of thousands of different sects, denominations, and just different ways people believe that aren't even organized religions. And this one, this tiny, small, little thing, is the right one out of 100,000 wrong religions. You cannot be a moral person, a moral God, claim to exist, and allow so many variants of the right religion and so many of thousands upon tens of thousands of religious or belief systems that offer so many different ways of living. I mean, that right there alone would be enough when you get to heaven or hell to ask for an appeal. There was too many options. I can understand if there were 2 or 3 religions and they were vastly different. But there's hundreds of thousands of different ways people believe. And several of them are, I don't believe anything, so there. And that's why I reject heaven and hell, because a caring God, if one existed, which I don't believe he does, or she does, a loving God would not create 90% of people to go to hell. And as long as you live a moral, decent life, where you don't hurt anyone, you don't do anything that causes people intentional pain, you cannot convince me that those people should go anywhere but heaven. Just because you don't have a relationship with one God out of 100,000 of them, that's the reason you burn in hell for all eternity, and you were a moral, decent human being. But just because you have a made-up sin problem, you should burn in hell for all eternity? Does that sound moral? I don't think so. And growing up in Baptist and Calvinistic ideology is much more extreme than Southern Baptist and Lutheran. I grew up believing that only a certain amount of people are chosen to go to heaven and everyone else goes to hell. I mean, how dark of a person do you have to be to believe that kind of thing? There's nothing after death. There's no heaven, there's no hell. Those things were made up by influential cis heterosexual men of different nationalities and ethnicities to control women, to regulate morality, and to keep everyone afraid of the afterlife. Because without heaven or hell, there's really no push to believe in anything. There really isn't. 98% of people out there who believe something wouldn't believe it, or would less likely to believe something if there wasn't a threat of eternal damnation or loss included in their ideology. Do you honestly believe that most Christians, Muslims, Jews would believe what they believe unless there wasn't a fear of punishment involved. Now, there are people out there that belong to belief systems that are not oppressive, and they're not under a church, and there's no expectations for how they behave within their community. But for the majority of people in America, you have to obey the rules of your denomination and religion. That's why there's a joke about Jews being kosher. There's a reason why women who don't wear I think it's pronounced a hijab, are shamed. There's a reason why Christian women who aren't at home being the property of a man are shamed. Because religion sees individuality and being different as a threat. That's why men regulate everything in religious communities. So, I don't believe, and most atheists probably don't believe in heaven and hell. We believe in morality. We don't believe in morality being cornered by a specific group of fanatics. And yes, America was founded by a lot of religious fanatics. That doesn't mean our country is founded by Christians either. And you don't have to have a God to be a moral person. But if you have to have a God to be a moral person, you're not a good person. Because people don't need a God threatening heaven or hell over their head to be a decent human being and a citizen worthy of taking up space in our society. So, rejecting heaven and hell taught me not to live in fear and not to waste this life enduring suffering for a next life that will never happen. And it's so sad how people waste their life. And waiting till the next world keeps people from making this world a better place. Because if there's a better world out there, you have no incentive to clean up and keep this planet running, treating people equally. And that's one reason why I don't like religion. It keeps people from making this world a better place because they're waiting for the next one.